Thank you for taking a ride on the Freedom Train podcast series. I'm your host, Joseph Ward, and as always, ride with me is my homies, Patrick Irvin and Jamie Bashan. The Freedom Train is brought to you by PAX Inc. That's PACTSINC. And PAX Inc. is a black advocacy organization aimed at developing the black community to its maximum potential through a focus on education and economics with the traits of hard work, honesty, and integrity. And for more information, make sure you visit www.pactsinc.org. And as always, I tell you, make sure you go to the tab that says the code. Click on the tab, go through, read the information. We have 12 codes of conduct that we use for black social engineering to help our people function more as a cohesive unit. So I really encourage you to go check out that information. Also, while you're online, make sure you visit our Freedom Train website, www.freedomtrainradio.com. Now, for this month of August, we're bringing attention to mental health awareness. So you're going to see a section that's outlined in green. Please comment, like, share. We would love for you all to join in the conversation as we further spread more awareness and information about mental health awareness in the black community. Follow us on Twitter at Freedom Train Net. Follow us on Instagram at Freedom Train Network. Like our Freedom Train Facebook page. You can subscribe to the Freedom Train on YouTube now. We're on YouTube. And last but not least, make sure you subscribe to the Freedom Train on either iTunes or Google Play Music. And if you Android like me, you got the Google Play Music, so you can get the notifications coming right to your phone. And everything is everything. Pat, Jamie, what it is?
What's happening, man?
What's going on? How y'all doing?
Hanging in there, man. No complaints. What's cracking, Pat?
I'm doing good. I can't think of nothing creative or clever to say, so.
Hey, man, it's all good. It ain't always about you being creative and clever. It's about you being clear, my brother.
Well, I was trying to, because usually when somebody say what's good, what's hanging, you want something creative and clever to say, like, I'm hanging like blank, blank, insert, slick, comment, blank, blank, but I was empty.
Hey, man. As long as you got the sentiment in your heart, that's all that matters.
Well, it was there, so if it's a thought that counts, then you can count it.
Straight up. Well, as I said earlier, you guys know that this show is a continuation of last week's show as we bring more attention to mental health awareness within the black community. So today, we had to reach out to a good friend of ours, Professor Carl Tone Jones, to bring him on the show. Now, I know you are mostly familiar with the professor on this show through us talking about the Independence Day Project, which we will give you an update on, but the professor also works in the mental health field, so we're going to have him on the show to give us more information and to continue the conversation about, but to help bring more awareness to mental health within the black community, because as we stated last week, these are things that we need to talk about more of. So my brother from another mother, who is a behavioral specialist consultant as well as a mobile therapist hailing from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, who is a brother who's very, very brilliant, very, very smart. He put together a documentary with no prior experience, and so far it's fire. He's been an avid member in the community, helping to uplift our people, empower our people, equip our people with the information and the knowledge that they need to. Been a strong opponent against racism and oppression within our community, and a true brother, someone who's not just talking about it, but he's actually walking. He's in the streets, he's knocking on doors, he's working with the kids, he's going into his own pockets and making sure that he makes our community better. And once again, inviting back to the Freedom Train, my big brother, Professor Carl Tone Jones. Y'all give it up. What's going on, Professor?
Hey, what's going on, brothers? I don't know if I can live up to that, but what's going on, family?
I had to make up for last week. I messed up the intro last week bad, and they got on me, too. The fans got on me, but it's all good. I had to make up for it, so.
Oh, you definitely did that, brother.
That's what's up, man. Thank you for being back, especially during our Mental Health Awareness Month. We appreciate you giving your time and your information to help us learn more and also be a better advocate within our community for mental health awareness.
Not a problem, brother. This is a very serious topic for us to talk about, considering that as a community, this is a predicament we tend to shy away from addressing, but it's probably the most damning issue in regards to why we're struggling, why we're suffering so much, and why we're in a lot of the predicaments we find ourselves in. So it's very needed. This discussion is a very needed discussion to have.
Yes, sir. Now, before we get deep into our mental health discussion, as I stated, you did create and direct, and you're the mastermind behind the Independence Day Project. Could you give our listeners an update on the project, where you are at right now in the project, when can we possibly expect a release date for the project?
Well, I'm not sure about a release date, but I know that we're on schedule to be done the project within the next few weeks. So in terms of the actual documentary, actually I'm watching. I'm sitting in front of the screen as we speak, looking at the footage to be sliced and diced and placed in the proper order. This is the production stage of it now, because we got pretty much all we need. So that's all. The documentary forthcoming. We'll be making an announcement in about 2 weeks in regards to a release date and several different places we're looking into. And we're also reaching out, so if anybody has a venue, a black-owned venue, anywhere in the country, and they're interested in showcasing or featuring the documentary, they could hit a brother up. They can contact you guys, the Freedom Train. Y'all know how to get in touch with me, or they can go to my social media sites, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or they can hit me up on my website, What About Us. So they can go to www.wauwhataboutus.com, and they can hit me up and contact me directly, and we can get down to the business of doing business as black people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Pat, you know how we do. You got the first question. Jamie, you're on deck. Let's run it. Pat, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. So, that's so unprofessional, Joe. Don't call me out for the mute button like that.
Whatever. You be trying to blast me.
Hey, so PC, welcome
yes, sir,
back.
Brother.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having
me. You're one of the friends of the show. One of the people who we say if you ain't familiar with this person, you ain't cool. And a lot of people are, like I said, the last friend of the show we had on, Carpool, they don't know that they not cool, and it's not necessarily their fault that they not cool, so we need to give them an opportunity to become cool. So,
there you go.
That being said, can you give the people a little bit more information about yourself, where you come from, what you do, and, can you add into that a little bit of why you chose to get involved with the community and why you chose to get involved with the community in terms of mental health?
Oh, yes, sir. Well, I got started, I could say, I really don't, instead of going all the way back to the genesis, I'll just give everybody the short, nothing close and personal. I really got started, I could say, we go back 10 years ago in regards to community involvement. I've always been a part of the community and always loved my community. But seeing firsthand what was happening to the children around in my community, seeing the lack of opportunities, seeing the attitudes that we were showing towards the children in regards to what they can expect. I saw a need that needed to be filled. So I would start working with these young brothers and sisters in the streets and trying to get them on board and on code with learning and loving their community and treating their community as though it's their own home. So one of the things we started was the Community Cleanup Squad, where the young brothers and sisters ages 8 to 14 would get together, and they created this business opportunity. I was paying them, of course, and they would start cleaning up the community on a weekly basis. And that sort of grew to a lot of the other projects that we started working on. And it was just that's just one aspect of it. But working and networking with other brothers and sisters in other cities and seeing that similar work was going on, but it wasn't really being showcased and broadcasted or put on the front page of newspapers. I wanted to start shedding more positive light, so we started recording those things and just showing the people that the community, our children, are doing good things out here, and the need for positive propaganda was necessary for us to start showcasing their good work. In terms of dealing with the mental health aspect, they say there's a statistic out there that say 2/3 of the people who work in mental health are either dealing with mental health or have mental health or related to people or affected by people who are suffering from a mental health illness. And so not a lot of people know this because I don't really publicize my work or my private life, but I have a brother who has suffered from some mental health setbacks. And being a part of that and also being a part of the inner city here in Philadelphia and seeing all the other people who are walking around and who possibly is suffering from some sort of mental health illness and ailment, it just drove me into wanting to be a part of the solution in regards to helping address that aspect of our community. So in a nutshell, that's kind of where we are right now, just trying to continuously help our people understand the need to address that aspect of our community, and that's why I work as a behavior specialist and a mental health as a mobile therapist to try to correct that, especially in young people, so that the older they get, the less needy or so that they'll have a better handle on their situations.
All right. So you mentioned one thing about that behavioral specialist. Could you kind of give us an explanation, what exactly it means to be a behavioral specialist consultant, and what are the different type of techniques you use for your clients?
Okay. Well, a behavior specialist consultant is primarily the clinical lead when you're dealing with a mental health situation. So if you're assigned a client or you're assigned a case, the behavior specialist writes out the behavioral plan. And it's like a prescription. You write down what the ailments are, whether the client is struggling with direction, whether the client is struggling with impulse control, whether the client is struggling with depression, whether the client is struggling with anger management, or whether the client is struggling with peer relationships or relationships with their parents, because I work with children. So you formulate a plan around that, and you identify the objectives of the plan. So the objectives may be, we're going to decrease this negative behavior by a specific percent, or we're going to increase this positive behavior by a specific percent or a specific ratio by the next treatment date. So it may be 30, it might be 3 months, it may be 6 months, it might be up to a year before the next treatment plan is needed to be enforced and evaluated. So, and in that particular juncture, you also assign a responsibility to the people who are in charge of those objectives. So you might say the behavior specialist and the mobile therapist or the therapeutic support staff worker, which is the person that does most of the one-on-one work with the client and spends the most time in most cases with the client. They may have a specific duty, a specific role that they play in terms of identifying or helping to assist the client through specific things, through routine. And a mobile therapist is, we'll get into that a little later on, but basically they also have roles, and the parents sometimes have roles, the clients themselves have roles, and we give a specific timetable as to when we should see that, and then we reevaluate it at the end of the cycle. So the behavior specialist is that person that pretty much is just, it's like it's the clinical lead, and it makes sure that the plan is put in place and everybody in the plan has a role, and it makes sure that people follow through. So that's pretty much the role of a behavior specialist.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So basically, and I guess in my mind, I'll say it's, I just put it in my words, it's like you analyze all the issues and then you come up with would it be like a behavioral modification plan, or like plans to help stabilize the person's behavior?
Well, that's all wrapped. It's all one and one and the same.
Okay.
Our job is to modify behavior.
Okay.
So that's the job, to modify behavior, and we have to make sure everything is executed, and we have to stay on top of it. It's a heavy task, because at any time one of those things breaks down, the behavior specialist may have to step in and assume one of those roles. So, it's a task-oriented position within just about every case.
Okay. So now you also we've also mentioned mobile therapy, a mobile therapist. So can you kind of give us a little more insight on what a mobile therapist? We know the mobile part, so you're moving around, you're probably going to people, but how does that kind of tie into the process of helping the clients that you will be dealing with?
Well, a mobile therapist is just that. It's a therapist who, instead of you going into the office, the therapist comes to you. So think of it as having a counselor, and you have a therapy session with that counselor, and you go into the office, you sit in the waiting room, and then they call you back, and the therapist, you go over the questions, and and they ask, they interview you, and they talk to you about what's going on, and you run down the aisle, and you try to help them work through their problems, sort of like keep them on task. Well, a mobile therapist comes out to your house to do that. So, as a mobile therapist, I'm in your living room, and I'm we're out in the community, and we're working through some things. And the advantages of being a mobile therapist is we don't have all of the constraints that someone sitting in the office does. We're actually out in the community. We get to see the environment that the clients live in. We get to see, we get to observe the actual areas that may be causing the trauma, and we get to actually deal with more than just that one person. When you're dealing, especially when you deal with it as a part of a wraparound team, you get to deal with the entire family. So if you, as a therapist, instead of asking the client, well, how does your parents treat you, you can observe the interaction right in front of you, and you can sort of take steps towards correcting that situation. If one of the things that the client is struggling with is, being out in the community and taking part in therapeutic recreational activities, instead of prescribing that as a therapist, you can actually indulge that with your client. So you can actually take your client, say if they live close to a park, or if they have trouble with dealing with social settings and socially appropriate behavior, you can take them into those settings, and you can work with them on dealing with anything that may be causing them anxiety and understanding and recognizing social cues. So a mobile therapist is a hands-on therapist that gets to utilize the entire environment and utilize it as utilize the environment to the advantages for addressing whatever the client may need. So there's a lot less strings attached to being a mobile therapist than, say, if you were an outpatient therapist and somebody had to come to see you every day.